Alright, now that we have our movies endpoint, the next step is to connect to the database and then get details about each movies from the database instead of hardcoding things here in the application itself. Okay, so in order to do that, first we'll make sure that our database, which is MongoDB server, is up and running. So if you haven't already installed, then the place to check for is this link here. I'm going to paste this link in the description below. So depending on the OS, so we can follow the instructions appropriately. So since I have a Linux box, I follow these instructions. So once we have the MongoDB server installed, the next step is to install something called as Compass, MongoDB Compass. So this is going to give us a nice UI to talk to the MongoDB server. So if you have already installed to make sure that the MongoDB server is running, so we can use this command on Linux box, sysctl status MongoDB, and it's running on. So the default port for a MongoDB server is 27017. Okay, now this is listening. The MongoDB server is listening, and now what we'll do is let's try to establish the connection between the application and the MongoDB server. So there are a couple of things before we do that. So let's open the pom.xml, and initially we added a dependency called Spring Boot Starter Data Mongo. And this is going to give us the necessary APIs to talk to the MongoDB server. So what we'll do is first we'll create a package called repository, and inside this package we'll create a class called, this is going to be an interface actually, and it's called MovieRepository. And this interface is going to extend from something called MongoRepository. And this MongoRepository accepts two parameters. The first one is going to be our model class. So model is going to be movie. Alright, and the second parameter is going to be the data type of the ID. So in our case, the data type of the ID was a string. So we'll mark it as string. We'll import this, and we'll import this. Okay. Now the next thing is we'll go to application.properties file and make sure that these properties are set. So the MongoDB host will be the local host, the port will be 27017, and the database is going to be MoviesDB. So this can be any name. So now what we'll do is we'll connect to the MongoDB UI through Compass. Okay, and here, okay, what I'll do is I'll delete this just to show how it can be done. So what we can do is we can create a database, and it's going to be the same name as whatever we gave there in the application.properties file, and the collection name. Okay, one more thing is before we do this, so a database in a relational world is same as database in MongoDB. A table in relational databases is going to be a collection in MongoDB, and a row in relational database is going to be a document in MongoDB. So whatever collection that we see is nothing but a table. Okay, so here the collection name is going to be the movie. So this is the model that this is same as the model class. Okay, so let's go here and then let's create this database. All right, we have the database now. We'll go to the collection. Now we'll import some sample data. So I already have some data. I'm going to share that. So I have this something called as movies.json, and I'm going to import it. And it's imported. So there are some basic movies that I just got from Google. Okay. Now this field underscore ID is not something that was part of my JSON document. This was something that the MongoDB created by itself. So this is going to be unique. And now that we have this, let's go back. Okay, now we shall start making the connection to the database. So there are a couple of things. So let's recap now whatever we have done till now. Then we'll do the connection in the next video. Okay. So first, what we did was we created this package called repository, and inside this we created an interface called MovieRepository, and this extends from MongoRepository. And this MongoRepository interface is going to give us all the necessary functionality. So if we go to this API, so this is going to give us all the necessary features like find all, insert, save all, things like that. Okay, so that is the small repository, and then we need to set a couple of properties in the application.properties file. Then we created a database in the MongoDB server, and then we created a collection inside the database, and then we imported some data. So that's it for this video. In the next video, let's make the actual connection and then try to get this data from the database to the application. Thank you.